Hello everyone, today there is a video on the topic of mindfulness. What exactly is it, how does it actually work, and how can you implement it in everyday life? Basically, everyone knows what it is. Being mindful simply means being as aware as possible in your life. That means being in the here and now as much as possible, fully aware of what you're thinking, feeling, and doing, so you can even notice the negative patterns you want to change. First, notice them. Second, forgive yourself for them. And third, change the pattern so you can become the conscious creator of your reality instead of an unconscious one. But maybe you've also asked yourself, well, how does that actually work? How can I implement that in my daily life? Continuously shifting from negative to positive, constantly turning your thoughts. In what situations can I do this and how can I implement it? And if you've ever asked yourself this question, then today I have 10 tips for you on how to apply mindfulness in everyday life. Welcome to Soul Tapping. Today, it's all about mindfulness in everyday life. I'm still constantly practicing it myself. I still don't always manage to be consciously aware 24/7 of what I'm doing. But I'm getting better, and recently I had a day where I really succeeded. And then at the end, I had the idea that I could make a video about it, where I observed myself applying mindfulness in everyday life. And from that, I've derived 10 rules for you to try out. How you might succeed. To observe and positively change your patterns of thinking and feeling in everyday life. Point 1. Whenever you wake up in the morning, make yourself aware of this. Here is a new day with new possibilities that is being given to you. Many people who come to me have the problem that when they wake up in the morning, their thoughts immediately start running on their own and in a negative direction. Something like, oh no, what if today turns out to be another crappy day? What if I get anxious again later? Oh no, I didn't sleep well enough. How am I supposed to get through this day now? And it's very important that you know that this is a programming you are doing so that you get more of it in the future. Because, purely from a brain physiology perspective, the most crucial moments of the day are right after waking up and just before falling asleep. Because the brain, in the morning, is not fully awake yet, it's still in a semi-hypnotic trance state, and in the evening, just before falling asleep, it's again in a semi-hypnotic trance state. This makes us suggestible, meaning we are receptive to new information, which then gets nicely stored. So, what you think about right after waking up is crucial. Not just for your entire day, but for your whole life. That's why, make it a ritual. To have a positive thought first thing. That no matter what tries to take over, whether it's fears or negative thoughts, you really say, stop. Decide which thought you want to think. Make a ritual out of it. Keep thinking the same thought that makes you feel good. You can plan this in advance, write it down beforehand, or practice it during the day. And then, bam, the very first thing when you wake up in the morning, you think of this beautiful feeling. No matter what it is. So you can think of something you're grateful for in your life. You can think of something you wish for your future that feels good. But preferably something where your doubt virus doesn't ruin everything again. So, it really should be a good feeling. And with that, you program yourself for the day. So, you become open to new possibilities and give yourself and your day the chance for this day to at least be better than yesterday. We are so often afraid that this day will be terrible again. But get used to consciously thinking, this day, I choose it. This day will at least be better than yesterday. It might not be the best day of my life. If you are currently in deep depression, that will be difficult, but at least this day can be quite decent. And much nicer than you would have thought if you had given in to your negative thoughts. Point 2. Whenever you have breakfast, make yourself aware that you have something to eat on your plate. Not everyone in the world has that. It's something special. It's about starting to apply awareness, gratitude, and love, these three keys to healing everything, what you encounter in life. So, for example, make yourself aware that, for this, let's say, breakfast roll or breakfast cereal or your coffee, there were people who grew it, harvested it, and produced it. They transported it and placed it in the supermarket so that you can now eat this breakfast. We take it for granted and instead think about the things that are bad in our lives. But if you want to stop thinking negatively, then you need to start overriding it with positive thoughts by making yourself aware of positive things. As often as possible, things that are positive. It's a fact that people did this for you. And you can start to view it that way as well. Sometimes I have these really big, philosophical thoughts where I think, wow, basically every profession, every person does something with their job that serves the rest of the people in some way. Be aware that we as humans are a big family, a large community, where everyone operates their little cog so that the whole can function. And we can be grateful for that. That is something wonderful. We just never make ourselves aware of it otherwise. So maybe just start with that. When you're standing in the shower in the morning, wow, there's clean, warm, drinking water, of drinking quality that you can let run over your body. What a luxury. Until, I don't know, 100 years ago, that was unthinkable. Only kings and children at most had that. And we should really be grateful for that and not just take it for granted, but be mindful for what you receive and be thankful for it. Point 3. Whenever you're on the go, whether you're driving a car or taking the train or bus, just take a look at the surroundings. Don't give in to your negative thoughts while driving or taking the train, but look at the trees, look at the multitude, the abundance of green leaves. And become aware of the abundance that nature offers us. Look at the houses. And realize how much love, work, and effort went into making these houses. Consciously seek out the beauty of houses, trees, flowers, fields, and forests. Everything you pass by. Don't just pass through blindly, but consciously, mindfully. Look at it, and be grateful for the abundance of creation, of nature. And then you will develop an awareness of it. That in this life there is no lack, but rather, that this is a life full of abundance. And even if it's the number of raindrops, even when the weather is bad, look at how grateful we can be. Or the fact that it rains here. In the desert, there is no rain. And it's difficult to grow anything edible there. So be mindful of everything that you encounter. Consciously perceive the colors. The colors of the leaves, the vibrant green, the beautiful yellow or red in autumn, the white snow in winter, whatever it may be, consciously perceive that. And drive mindfully, whether by car, train, or bicycle. Then, point 4. Whenever you go to work, and you think again, here comes that annoying colleague. Or now comes that difficult task again. I can't handle this, I can't manage this. Hopefully, I'll meet my quota today. And no, I'm not good enough because I'm depressed. Blah, blah, blah. Don't let such thoughts poison your day, but instead, switch immediately. Switch to gratitude. Be grateful that you have a job, that you are provided for, that you earn money, that you can fill your fridge, so is everything that seems negative to you. Consciously and mindfully look for the positive that it offers you. There is always something, and even if you have your job, even if you have your colleagues, then focus on what is good about it. Namely, you earn money with it and can make a living. And if you don't have a job, then be grateful that you still have your fridge full enough to survive. Because you live in one of the richest countries in the world, be grateful that it gives you the opportunity to rest, to come out of your depression without having to work, because you at least receive basic support, instead of thinking, I have so little and it is so difficult. Yes, it is difficult. Yes, I don't want to downplay that or anything. But you don't have to sit on the street and beg here. That's how it is in other parts of the world. Be mindful of what is good in your life. And if you have nice colleagues, be grateful for that. It's wonderful to know that I'm going there now and there is at least one, if not more, nice people with whom I can spend my time. That is mindfulness in everyday life. Point 5. Whenever you go shopping, then be aware that you have money in your wallet, because otherwise you couldn't go shopping. Go. Do it consciously. I know very well that one tends to say, I still have to go shopping, not in the mood. But turn the coin around. Who are you? How does it feel to think, I still have to go shopping? Then you're not in the mood for your life. But if you think, wow, there's a store that's still open, despite lockdowns or other difficult situations. The shelves are full, look at them consciously and mindfully. Marvel at the abundance of offerings on the shelves, and think to yourself, wow, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, that so many people made these products and put them on the shelf so that I just have to walk through to buy them. And whenever you're standing at the checkout and take your wallet in hand, look inside, and no matter how much is in there, be grateful for what is inside. So, that's also mindfulness, catching yourself when you might think something like, wow, it's gotten more expensive again. Or, ugh, that. And I didn't get that. Always turn the medal around, from negative to positive. Thank you, that I can buy this and that now, and fill my fridge. Then, point 6. Whenever you're angry with loved ones, acknowledge your anger, feel it in your body, come back to yourself, and pause for a moment. And when you've felt your anger enough, then you can switch. It doesn't work in the moment when you're really at 180. It doesn't work to be grateful then. But once that has calmed you down a bit, you can always, I don't know, retreat somewhere, tap, stomp, scream, or whatever, let the anger out, without anyone getting angry or anyone getting hurt. And when that has calmed down, then switch. Switch to gratitude. Be thankful that this wonderful person is in your life. For example, I find it easiest with the kids, and then, well, kids can really tire you out, but then I manage best to say, wow, I have received 2 children. Thank you so much for this wonderful gift, dear universe, yes. And that. You can do this with anything you're angry about or something. Imagine you didn't have it. Be grateful. Be grateful for the people in your life. Point 7. Whenever old pain is triggered, it doesn't just affect feelings of anger. It affects everything. So if someone says something wrong and you notice yourself overreacting, pause for a moment, be mindful of what's happening in your body, and realize that's not me. That's my inner child. Those are the old memories from the past being triggered here. That's why I feel this way again now. Hurt or whatever, yes, that's why. Or you feel that fear is being triggered and you become nervous about something and your head actually knows, and let's say your adult self, I actually know exactly. Hey, why am I here now? Stress with, there's actually no reason for it, and so on. Then make sure you don't fall into self-reproach. Man, how can I be so stupid, blah, or into blaming others. Man, how can he say something so stupid, but stop. Be mindful of what it thinks inside you. Embrace your inner child and feel the feeling. And then let it go again. Be mindful of what happens to you emotionally. Throughout the day, forgive yourself for your old patterns, Forgive yourself for negative thinking, and also forgive yourself for self-reproach. Yes. So just be mindful of what feelings you are feeling. Throughout the day, try to actively notice them and deal with them constructively. Point 8. Whenever you complain, think negatively, or talk about how terrible things are in your life, pause for a moment and realize that you are like a farmer sowing seeds in the field right now for your future by thinking about negative things. And ask yourself, do I want more of this in the future? And if the answer is no, then switch to gratitude immediately. Always switch to gratitude immediately by asking yourself, what is good in my life right now? You have to differentiate a little. Of course, this doesn't apply across the board. Let's say, if you are in a therapy session, it's important that you also talk about what is currently difficult in your life. This refers more to that mental carousel, those completely unproductive thoughts that keep going around. Recurring thoughts like, this is bad, and this is bad, and this is bad, without leading anywhere. In a therapy session, it leads somewhere, so it's okay. If you believe in it, it's even better not to dwell on it too much. The negative stuff, but be mindful of these fully automated, negative thoughts. And make yourself aware that the more I think about it, the more I get of it. So always say stop. Apply techniques. Switch to gratitude. What is good in my life right now to distract you from the thought loops towards something positive? Okay. Point 9. Whenever you go to sleep at night, the same thing happens as when you wake up. Pay attention to the last thought you have before falling asleep, because it will really get stored nicely. Yes, this is also known from brain research, that if you're studying for an exam or something, it makes total sense to review it before going to sleep, because it really settles in nicely. And that's why you should be careful, be mindful of your thoughts, so you don't fall asleep with negative thoughts. For example, something like, oh no, what if I can't sleep? Oh no, tomorrow I have this and that again. Oh God, oh God, oh God. Don't let that happen. But really train yourself to change your thoughts before sleeping. By keeping a gratitude list, for example, either in writing or just by making it clear to yourself or considering it. No matter how bad the day was today, what was the best moment of this day? Something was the best moment. Maybe a moment of being pain-free, or a moment when someone smiled at you, or when a dog was happy to see you. Or even small things can be enough. And fall asleep with these good thoughts. Or visualize how you want your future to be, until a big grin appears on your face because you're thinking about how beautiful your future will be. You can also fall asleep with that. This then programs you to develop and move towards that. Make it clear to yourself that everything that happened today makes profound sense, because there is no meaninglessness in the universe, there are no coincidences. Everything is ultimately good for me, no matter how painful it might have been. But it will help me in the long run to get to where I want to be. And it goes much faster if you are mindful and make yourself aware of these things. And finally, point 10. Whenever you doubt yourself, when you belittle yourself, when you make yourself small, when you block yourself and stay below your potential, then make yourself aware of who you really are. That you are in no way anyone, some failure, or an idiot, or a I don't know what, ugly, stupid, or all these judgments in your head. Make yourself aware that on the highest level, in the highest reality, that is simply not true. But that you are an infinite divine being, a radiant soul that comes to earth again and again, into the world of duality, to have experiences here, to be able to grow, to be able to recognize its own greatness and beauty again. That's the thing with the candle flame that cannot recognize its beauty and light within the sun. It must go into the darkness to be able to recognize its light and beauty. For me, that is the meaning, the reason why we come into this life. According to Neil Donald Walsh, if you want to read up on it. For me, that makes absolute sense, and it just feels really good to know that in reality, I am a radiant, beautiful soul. I am an angel who has voluntarily made the decision to enter a human life. With pain. With all the downsides, with all the dark sides. To have the opportunity in this game, in this illusion, to experience what it's like not to love oneself, not to see one's own greatness and beauty, in order to then develop myself to be able to see it again. That I am a gift to the world, this applies to all of us. This is not just true for me, but I have recognized this for myself. And that's why I can now live and enjoy it. And suddenly people appear who tell me that I am a gift to the world. Wow! So, when you start to make it clear to yourself again and again that you are a gift to the world and that maybe some ability is still dormant within you, wanting to come out, wanting to be expressed, so that you can be a gift to the world. When you become aware of all this, it becomes much easier. And then you sow entirely new things for your future. That's why you should make yourself aware of such things, especially in the evening before sleeping. Then you gradually reprogram yourself. And it becomes much easier for you to come into self-love, to develop a sense of self-worth, and also to make the right decisions for yourself and to follow the right path. To trust that the right things will come into your life at the right time. And all these things, these are like. These are those. Yes, those were my 10 points, which I feel might help you in everyday life to try out. Now I would like to briefly tell you about this one day, how I implemented it. And it was just a normal day. I had a free morning, so I didn't have an EFT session that day. And that's when I basically did it. Exactly like that. These 10 rules are already along the lines of a daily routine. I followed them, and that's what I did. I woke up in the morning and did my mental morning ritual. So, I always imagine my future the way I want it to be, and then I feel happy about it. At breakfast, I thought about how nice it is. Thank you for this muesli, and thank you to the people who grew this oats. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Just briefly enter this awareness, and then it's not a problem if you go back out and get caught up in your normal everyday life again. Because no one can do that 24 hours a day. Well, maybe Zen monks or something like that, who train for it, who only meditate all day. But people who live a normal life here can't do that. But you can, always, every now and then, briefly turn off the autopilot. What's happening right now? What am I actually doing right now? I'm eating muesli right now. Nice, thank you. Take a moment to consciously taste. Oh, yes, delicious. So, don't just gulp down the food, but notice how you eat it, how it tastes. And through this, you also notice, for example, that things that aren't good for you, aren't good for your body, don't actually taste that good. For instance, that sugar is way too sweet when you eat it consciously. Or that chips are way too salty, almost unbearably salty, when you experience it consciously. So, then I did a bit of office work during my day, did my bookkeeping, briefly checked my account. Thank you for what's in my account. A quick moment of gratitude and then back out. So, these are all little things, small things strung together. That's enough. So, then I went swimming. On my free morning I treat myself to something like that. And then, for example, I used the drive to visualize my new car. Well, I drive a 23-year-old car. It still carries me very well, bravely, but eventually it will give up the ghost. And that's what I do. Manifestation exercises, for example. I have nothing else to do while driving, so I imagine myself sitting in my very fancy new car. Because I know that when I send these thoughts out into the universe, it increases the likelihood that this fancy car will come to me. So, then, on the way from the parking lot to the swimming pool, I looked at the trees, consciously listened to the sound of the wind in the trees, and so on. And I looked at the many, many leaves and thought, wow, so many leaves, such abundance. Or, then, somehow, when I was at the swimming pool, as I was swimming my laps, I did those visualization exercises again because I simply had the time for it. Then, consciously feel the water on the body, not just get in, but feel it. Or I do exercises like, I don't know, when thoughts come to me like, the water is probably really cold again, that I notice it and say, stop, how do I want it to be? Do I want to make a fuss or do I want it to be uncomfortable? No, I want it to be pleasant. Mental strength. I am now ready to endure this cold water. That's a typical thing for highly sensitive people. The water is always so hot and so cold. Or with the swim cap, it's so tight, that rubber thing. And when I notice myself starting to complain, the swim cap is too tight, also typical for highly sensitive people, then I say, stop, how nice that I have a swim cap that protects me from the rain. It was raining that day, and I was at the outdoor pool. And oh, how nice, how cozily protected I am here under my swim cap. Yes, so, these are all such silly things. Everyday little things. But that's what brings about change. It doesn't always have to be the big things. Mindfulness in everyday life means using these small things to reprogram yourself over and over again. And through that, you become a positive, optimistic, happy person. That's it. It's not always just the therapy sessions where you have big realizations or something like that, but it's these little things in everyday life. Then, I was also confronted with various triggers. So, not everything was rosy that day. There was, for example, a woman, I didn't know her, no idea, she had this kind of look, shook her head a bit. And, not very strongly. It was only minimal, but highly sensitive. People notice that immediately and feel triggered right away. So, I noticed it then. That's the thing with mindfulness. I noticed how I got a brief fright. Oh God, did I do something wrong? Did I annoy her? Did I do something now? That's also a typical thing for people with developmental and attachment trauma, especially highly sensitive children. They have something like that as a trigger, and then I noticed it, I realized it. Because I was mindful, I made myself aware of it. Old pattern. Hey, little Sabine from the past, you're feeling triggered again now. Okay. It's all right, it's over, the danger is over. Very briefly, this happens in 1 or 2 seconds. Simply just negative thought, bam, turn it around, positive thought. Let go. That's all there is to it. It's not a big, complicated thing, but that's mindfulness in everyday life. Then on the way back, I had the great idea to make a video about it, about mindfulness. And I was so proud of myself because I thought, wow, I'm so mindful today. And bam, at that moment I drove past the exit. Forgot to turn off. And then I felt this pain of failing again. That can't be true. I want to make a video about mindfulness and in reality, I can't even manage it myself. And I drive past the exit. So, old pattern. I put myself down, but I noticed it after a second. Bam. Wow, what a gift that this situation happened now because I can tell you about it now, yes. That my day isn't always perfect either, and that this still happens to me. The old pattern became active, but I just briefly noticed it. I felt it in my body, okay, a bit in the stomach. Like when your stomach turns. Maybe a kind of feeling of shame that a mishap happened to me or something like that. I breathed, let it flow through until it was gone again and then let it go, the situation passed, and then I don't think about it anymore. That's mindfulness. And somehow the rest of the day went on like that, where I thought about my positive things again in the evening before sleeping. That would be a typical daily routine of how you can practice mindfulness in everyday life. And the most important thing is, it goes slowly. It's like learning to play the piano. You have to practice it daily and repeatedly. And it only moves forward in tiny little steps. That's completely normal. Yes, so don't fall into the trap of judging yourself. 4. Still being unconscious in your daily life. It's incredibly difficult to always be conscious. I certainly don't always succeed, but if you practice, you'll get better and better, and you'll notice these things, these old patterns that come up, you'll notice them earlier and earlier. And then, for me, it's now at the point where I notice it immediately. So with many things, not all, but with many, I notice it right away. That means it's really a matter of 2 minutes. Negative thought appears, noticed. Breathe, let it flow through, change it. Where's the gift? How can I view it positively? What can I be grateful for? Period. Done. Situation checked off. So, that's how I practice, going through my everyday life. You do it, it's not a big deal. I do that on the side. And in doing so, I slowly become more and more aware and increasingly content, and I have more and more the feeling that the world is beautiful. And that's how it works according to my experience. Feel free to write me in the comments if you've had different experiences. So feel free to write in there. Even if you feel like it's not working for you because. So usually, you then bring up the doubter, you bring that up too, it also speaks up, saying it won't work and well, great and blah. That's completely normal, you can tap on that. Feel free to write to me about that. What moves you or what question? Or point you still have a question about or something like that. And of course, you are welcome to like my video, share it, or subscribe to my channel if you want to support me. Feel free to take a look around my website or check out my online course at onlinecourse.seelenklopfen.de. There you'll find a collection of tapping rounds with 50 videos to tap along with on all sorts of topics, which you can use to practice tapping on your issues every day. And keep doing it until your patterns have changed. And now I wish you a nice, mindful day. Take care. Goodbye.